So let's talk about the RS6 GT. So this has been in for a full PPF package. Now what we've done on that is pretty much as it says. Every single panel on this car, exterior wise, has had PPF on it. We've extended it in some areas. So down on the bottom of the splitter, you'll see it's, well, to be honest, it's pretty intense. And there's a lot of sort of what I'd call grills or sort of vents in there, which have actually been PPF'd individually to get the right result. And it's also gone quite deep under the car because that is an area that could actually get damaged. Now, a couple of other areas that have obviously been done is the lower part of the carbon sill has been done underneath the car as well. And that's because it's an area you'll never see, but we all know it's an area that gets pebble dashed. And if it does, that's going to cost you a lot of money because let's be honest, this car is only going up in price. Now, if you don't know what this car is, do a quick check on it because it's pretty unique. From the really cool vents that are in the front, which if you saw in the previous video, are actually carbon on the inside of the vent, which we've also done. Again, possibly a pointless area, but we did notice stones are going in there. So why not PPF the front of the inner vent just here to get the best result and make sure it's protected. This car has a completely unique spoiler. It has a completely unique lower bumper section or boot section. The diffuser is different. There's loads of little tweaks on this car that make it seriously unique and very, very cool. And that's why this car's going up in price. Now what we've done, we've extended the PPF onto the carbon mirrors. So as a template, it lets you do so much. However, we've extended that a little bit more to cover more mirror than normal. Again, don't necessarily need it, but for the sake of doing it, it's something we've gone all out on this car. Now, the PPF on this car, we've spent about 2 working weeks on to get the right result. The weather isn't the best. We can get the temperatures up in here, but it can go back out, and obviously it can be cold. And PPF can sometimes affect that because it will contract and expand, and we don't want it to do that. And that can only be marginal, but we want to try and protect that the best we can. Now, when I take you to the front of the car, you're going to see how intense that front bumper actually is. And again, we've done full PPF coverage on that, including right underneath the bumper itself by pretty much this much. So what you're going to see on this front bumper is it is quite intense, and that means we've also protected areas such as here and here, but on the PPF, because again, the areas that are going to get caught out. The lower section is actually in multiple pieces to get the right coverage on there, and it does overlay in a couple of sections, which does make it pretty tricky. Now, on the front bumper itself, as I said, we've gone under by pretty much that much, which means if that does get caught on a curb or a stone or anything like that, it's at least protecting the front of the bumper as well. And let's be honest, we know that happens on lowered cars, and this is lowered from standard. Now, when we came to do the bonnet, this was a tricky area, and I'm going to explain to you why this was a problematic area. In fact, there's quite a few areas on this car that were tricky to do. Now, one of the areas that was tricky in the bonnet, it's not uncommon on a carbon bonnet, especially dry carbon, and that's because there's nowhere to tuck the film underneath. So what I'm going to show you on here is how the actual carbon residue or the black residue, like a charcoaling that they have on it, has actually come off on the film, which meant we can't tuck the film on that bonnet as well as we'd like, and we've had to cut it across the sides. That can be tricky because you don't have as much, not protection, but when you're washing the car, you've got more area that can actually be exposed, where if you tuck underneath, you don't get any of that. But unfortunately, cars like this and cars like GT3s don't allow you to do that. Now, the other areas that were tricky on this, well, actually, pretty much all of it. And that's because we've got livery or graphics on the car. Now, what we showed on this is there's 2 options. We know you can remove the graphics. I've seen somebody do that. It's about 14 grand, I'm told, to replace the graphics. We got quoted, I think, £1,500 to get some replica ones done. But the problem you've got with that is you are removing the graphics from the car and then refitting them. So you've got the issue of, are you going to get them perfect? How much effort and time is it going to take extra to remove the graphics and then also basically take the glue off, which it is going to leave? And then you've also got the graphics to reapply over the PPF. leaving the graphics unprotected. So the reality is, removing the graphics isn't really feasible, and it's a massive expense for no reason. The other issue with that is this is a limited edition car. It's a very special car. By removing those graphics, are you devaluing that car? Because there will be some buyers out there who won't want that based on that input. Now, I'd rather PPF over these because it's protecting the vinyl, like we said. Now, we have found one slight issue on the vinyl at the front wing, which I'll show you now, and that's where there's a slight defect or possibly dirt under the actual vinyl. Now, we checked it 3 or 4 times because we thought it was us, and we thought we'd got something in the PPF, and it wasn't. It is actually the vinyl, but it is a little bit noticeable based on that. But the other problem you've got is whenever you PPF over a graphic, wherever the graphic stops, you can get a water or even sometimes an air line between the two pieces. So this line here, for example, will hold water really badly. Same with this area here, like especially around the windows. It just holds water and it can cause issues. It means it takes quite a bit of time to dry out, because it doesn't matter how well you squeegee this and how well you refine that, even if you use alcohol to try and bond it in beforehand, you are creating a bit of a gap because of it, and it can take a few weeks. So realistically, the reason this took a bit longer is we wanted it to naturally air out so we could actually remedy any of those issues, squeegee them back out, or even possibly use a needle just to drain a little bit, just to make them right. And that's because we wanted to protect the full car, but that meant quite a big issue on the bottom of the car because the livery is in quite a few sections. So that is one of the issues we've had with this car, and truthfully it was a bit of a pain in the bum, but the results are absolutely mega. Now, what else have we done on this car? Well, we haven't just fully PPF'd the car, we've actually ceramic coated the wheels and the calipers, and that's because they were brand new, and obviously coating those is pretty vital, but we've used the best and the highest grade angel wax product that you can get. Now, those wheels have been fully protected, including the rim around here, which a lot of you might really know about, like with the BMWs, tend to hold a lot of dirt and grime and brake dust. So they've been basically protected to a high level. They've actually had 3 coats. The calipers, the same. We've then gone on to the interior, which is insane, by the way. I'll show you the interior in a minute. But the interior has been fully protected. Now, it's actually all Alcantara. So the dashboard is in 3 levels and it's all Alcantara. There's very little leather on this, but we've actually protected the Alcantara and we've protected the leather parts. And we've also done the dashboard, the steering wheel and other areas, because we all know if you've got an Alcantara steering wheel, how grubby they can actually become. Now, on top of that, we've also PPF'd some of the interior. Now, the client on this car didn't want any of the interior film removing, so the standard plastic covers that you get, like phone screen protectors. He didn't want that removing. And he didn't want that removing because he wants to keep the car as original as possible for when it does sell. It's very factory based, as it were, like as if it's literally just left the showroom. However, the centre console didn't have any protection film on there, and it is an area that's going to get marked and you're going to get fingerprints. So what we've done is PPF the centre console on this car. So not only have we basically cleansed all the car and we've ceramic coated all the leather edges of the seats, which is just these pieces and this, and then the rest of it is an Alcantara. It's got super high grade carpets. All this top part of the section on here is Alcantara as well. This is basically just a standard gloss, but the standard screen protectors are on here, here and here, and then we've PPF'd this section here. And this is the bit I was telling you about the model number, where this is model 641 out of 660. This is an area that does get scratched and you're probably never going to be able to replace that. The cost of it would be ridiculous. So putting PPF across this whole piece, including the sliding cup holders, is pretty much vital. So that's the Audi RS6 GT fully protected. Every single piece you can imagine is PPF'd, including all the A, B and C pillars, and the front end with this amazing carbon bonnet. Now, this is an iconic car, and anybody who doesn't know it, this is a homage to an old Audi Quattro 80, which actually came with this livery when it was in the rally. If you want to know a little bit more, keep following us, check the channel and make sure you subscribe.